A photo of an alleged IS militant claiming asylum in Europe. He's pretending to be a refugee. That picture went viral on Facebook this week. It's a before and after photo. Check it out. Look, here is Layth al-Saleh. People were saying that he was a fighter for ISIS before. There he is on the left, back in Syria. There he is on the right, entering Macedonia as a refugee. Some people were saying on Facebook, this is why we can't let migrants in, because ISIS is literally coming into Europe pretending to be refugees. Now, I'm calling bullshit, and I'm right, because people have found this guy's identity, and actually he's not an ISIS fighter at all. He fought for the Free Syrian Army, the very people fighting not only the Assad regime, but ISIS as well. His name's Layth al-Saleh. This is what's pissing me off here, Margaret. This is the main reason you see a lot of the right wing in Europe, particularly in the Eastern Bloc of Europe, kind of saying, this is why we don't let migrants in, right? This is why we can't do this, because we're gonna have terrorists come in. And a lot of people are saying, well, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. ISIS has a lot of money. Why would they send their fighters on this perilous journey, risking their lives one at a time, walking through all these countries, risk to get caught, just so they can have a few fighters? Now, they have money. They can send the people on planes. They can pay for visas. They can do these things. So this doesn't make sense. And just, I think this is really important. I understand that this is one photo. We see fake stuff on Facebook all the time. It's always bullshit. You can't trust anything that you see on Facebook. Problem is,
well, sometimes you can.
Sometimes, but when you see some random guy like Peter Lee Goodchild who posted this picture, he's apologized since, by the way, but when you see something like this, I understand that it's just one photo, but it really represents what a lot of people in Europe are thinking. Yes, I understand we have countries like Germany, like Great Britain, France, Italy, who are taking in all these migrants, but at the same time, you have a lot of people who are saying, no, we can't be letting these people in. For example, you hear a lot about Hungary, right? In the news nowadays, what's going on with the border of Serbia. Now, Hungary's prime minister, for example, Viktor Orban, he's saying the migrants aren't refugees. He won't even admit that these people are seeking asylum for legitimate reasons. They're just saying they're encroaching on our beautiful Christian Europe. Him and the main prominent Hungarian bishop, Laszlo Kisrigo, who's saying the Pope is wrong, we shouldn't be helping these people, he's saying this is an invasion. They want to take over. The Muslims, they say, are taking over Europe, when these people are literally leaving their careers, their houses, their families behind just to escape the fighting that's going on in their country. A lot of them are. And they can't admit that these people are refugees. So yes, this is one picture, but I understand that I just want to let you guys know that this really represents, what a lot of people, politicians, right-wingers in Europe are thinking. The same people that say that Muslims are very intolerant, it's not a welcoming religion. They're not letting these people who are literally trying to run for their lives into their country because it's encroaching on their Christian values.
Right. Well, you have to admit, though, Nick, that there has to be a few bad apples in a massive bunch like this. So it isn't far-fetched. I mean, that logic, that particular picture, obviously, that looks rather fake. But there has to be an element, a pinhole of truth, if you will, in the fact that there are bad apples that will be entering in this mass flood of refugees. That's just a fact. Whether they're ISIS or not, that remains to be seen. But there are bad apples in the bunch for sure. With that said, though, we have these countries that are stepping up, saying, we have a humanitarian crisis on our hands. We're going to do something about it. They're taking people in, and we have to understand, though, this isn't a small thing. I mean, yes, there's trepidation, but also 2 to 3 million people entering, changes a society. It changes every aspect of a society, and there should be some trepidation there, but at the same time, this is happening, and bad apples in the bunch, yes, but overall...
Speaking of bad apples, Laszlo Petra Svegienfall, she's this camera woman who works for this nationalist Hungarian television station. She just got fired because there's a video of her kicking refugees as they're trying to run across the border into Hungary. They're escaping the police because they don't want to get taken to these holding camps where they're fingerprinted and then they can't go on to Germany. That's what the Hungarians want to do. They want to keep them there.
There has to be a rule of law, though, and I know you have a video. I'll let you.
Yeah. Let's go to the video before we talk about it. Check out what's happening in Hungary as we speak, and look at this camera woman kicking people. Check it out. It's ridiculous. So that man who gets tripped at the end gets up, protests, and screams at her, "Why did you just kick me down to the ground? I have a child in my hand. We're literally trying to run away." She was fired thankfully, as I think she should be.
Yeah.
We'll see what other action is taken against this woman, but look.
I mean, what is she? Bullying in the 8th grade? Isn't that something you would see like an 8th grader? How juvenile
one
is
could
that?
say, you know,
kick someone? You know?
One could say, you know, oh, she's just kicking people down to get a good shot,
right?
Because she did have a camera.
And she's
in her
really
hand.
making a dent there because you have a flood of people. She's only kicking one. I mean, what I don't understand the rationale behind her. Maybe she's trying to prove a point that she's. Or maybe she does just want a great shot.
Point is, she holds a sentiment that many people in the Hungarian government particularly share, and that is that these migrants are just running in, right, like they're rats or something, and we need to stop them. We don't need to have them here at all. They're claiming bogus asylum, and they don't. When the prime minister himself doesn't want to admit that these people are legitimate refugees. That's extremely sad, I think, to say the least. I think it's just ridiculous what's going on.
Pulling this back to us really quickly, the U.S., supposedly we have 1,500 Syrian refugees living in the U.S. Our State Department has called for an additional 65,000 in 2016 or by 2016. So we're also going to see, you know, our own acceptance of these refugees in this crisis. I just wanted to point that out because, you know, this does hit us too. This isn't just their problem or their issue. And
I think it's only the beginning, and it's going to be more and more our problem. Canada and other countries, Australia has come out. Anyways, religion, before we go, religion's a big part of this too. A lot of people are talking about how, you know, all these Muslims are coming in and they're taking over our Catholic countries, like the Hungarian Prime Minister and Bishop have said. But you know, a lot of these refugees in the UK, for example, hundreds have begun to convert just to fit in, which I think in itself is extremely sad. I don't think this should have anything to do with religion. I think you know, the EU, for what it stands for, should be opening to all people, given their religion, their color, whatever it is. So, extremely sad images coming out of Europe at the moment. Especially coming out of Hungary and other countries, really sad. But we want to know what you guys have to say about it. Please comment below, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the Lip TV for more.